You know, I just want to go back to this whole, you know, the Tea Party thing. You can't blame Dad if indeed there was, you know, this really vitriolic, David Webb, co-founder of Tea Party 365, reaction to her vote in her district to the extent that there was the violence. Isn't it natural that people would assume?
You know, I'm not doubting that someone's going to make that assertion, but when the left-wing blogs, when the blogosphere goes out there and says this is a Tea Party person who did this, that's irresponsible. And as I said, I will give the father the heat of the moment. That's understandable. He's a dad. But it's an irresponsible statement on his part to say that this was, as he put it, the Tea Party was our entire enemy. The Tea Party does not and never has advocated for violence against public officials, and in no way is this supported. And what the Tea Parties are now put on the position by the left wing first is of no longer playing defense, but we're going to be on offense and say, hey, this was a random act. I was going to ask
you that. What happens now for the next couple of days? Do you fend off the slings and arrows of the people you describe as the far left?
They have so little credibility because of the reality that people in America now see in the Tea Party movement, that it is not a violent movement, despite the attacks of the Southern Poverty Law Center, the NAACP, and all the other groups that have tried and have failed, because these are average Americans. And I think the Tea Parties need to, let's go back to focusing on the families, the victims, those poor people and their families that now are dealing with this.
But Scott Alswine, Craig's previous piece puts this in context. There's always been nut jobs.
There's always been emotionally disturbed people that get fixated on a candidate, on a movie star, on a television personality, and some of them, thankfully a small amount of them, carry out their goal.
And it's, when you look at it, you look at the Congresswoman's father, and you know the thing with the target on the certain candidates that they had a target on. I mean, the first response from
that was very offensive. I'm telling you, Bo, I didn't like that at all.
This is my point.
To use that kind of analogy or metaphor when you're targeting someone.
Well, I know, and you have a target on it.
I mean, the Republicans and Democrats have both used that lousy
God forbid,
device.
Your father, imagine your daughter gets shot. Your reaction.
Well, imagine my daughter was running for student council president. Someone puts a target on her and say, let's...
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the father's reaction. So I do understand the father's reaction.
But my point is, there has to be more care taken. It may be, I'm telling you, maybe you're absolutely right. And this has nothing to do with nothing. But still, I think this is a clarion call for some prudence in our language.
And you and I are going to agree there needs to be prudence on both sides.
Yes,
some of the
I totally agree with it.
But to take this the way they did, Linda Lopez, Bill Pascarell in New Jersey. Bill Pascarell said Fox News feeds this.
That's creepy. That is really creepy. That is an insult to the fine journalists here, and I feel personally offended by it. It is so lame to say it.
Right.
What, is this show inspiring anybody?
Right, but
if so, from what point of view?
But
to irrational conduct.
That's my point, that, you know, to make a political ploy out of a tragedy, I think backfires on these people that try this, and this is what they face.
I hope this, I'll tell you right now, I hope that this is, it may show, you're absolutely right, Bo, Arthur, you, everybody's right. There's nothing to do with any politics. I still want this to be a sobering message to everybody involved in public discourse to just cool it. Just cool your jets a little bit. Just let's take the edge off here. Let's not demonize the person on the other side of the aisle quite so much. I think that it really is the kind of conduct that can result in something awful happening, because there are nuts in our society.
You know what comes to mind is back with the SDS. These are really very educated kids, and all of a sudden they were
the far left in the 60s.
Right, and they were so
most of my audience is young, too.
Right, they were against violence. Geraldo, they were against violence, but all of a sudden then they went out and they shot cops. They put bombs. They killed people. So it's both sides.
You have very important point on this. How come you have a Tea Party visibly and historically a peaceful movement versus the anarchists and the other groups that use violence to get their point across while preaching peace?
Take a break on that provocative note. We'll be right back. Our live coverage continues.